Everybody, welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's Anthony Melchiori. I'm Glenn Hausman. Welcome aboard. Anthony, you remember a time when we were a lot more serious about our shows? That's gone out the window, hasn't it?
Well, I think it started at a time where there was something called COVID that shut down.
That's right.
So I was also had a beard and had a sweatshirt on too.
I remember those days. Boy,
I was hiding money around my house and cleaning my vegetables and my toiletries and everything else coming into my home, and everybody was frightened. So yeah, it was a little bit more serious.
I know it was. And listen, though, while we talk about some serious stuff here every day on No Vacancy Live, one of the things is we like to have a lot of fun. We'd love for you to participate out there. So if you want to jump on and ask a question today, that would be great, because today is going to be fun. Anthony, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking a look at our friends over at McNeill Hotel Company. They're a great management company. We've got their president, we've got their VP of revenue, we've got their director with HR, VP of HR. I'm sorry, Deanne. Human Resources Director, getting the titles confused, but it's okay. I've got no shame, but they are really smart. So let's get started over here. Sorry, let's bring in Mr. Travis Murray, President, McNeill Hotel Company, followed by Jennifer Driscoll, VP Revenue Management, and finally, Deanne Frame, HR Director. Hey, everybody. How fun is this to have all of you together with us?
Great. Good afternoon. How's everyone doing today?
This is great. This is going to be a whole lot of fun. Usually when we do these things, we start with one person, bring in another. But what the heck? We want everybody to be able to jump in. Travis, before we get started, I did want to say I haven't had you guys on in a long time, and I just wanted to recognize our good friend, Mark Ricketts, who had passed away last year. I absolutely loved him. And that's how I really got to know your company and a number of other people within the organization because of him. So I always have great, fond memories of him. But it's also great to see that you are taking the company forward into a new era now. So how are you feeling about being president of the company, and where are you all headed to, and where are you at right now?
Well, like you said, first and foremost, this company was started with Mark Ricketts and Phil McNeill, and Mark, his legacy throughout the hospitality industry is just it's unmatchable. I mean, Mark was such an inspiration to so many, not only within our company but within the hospitality industry. And I actually feel honored to follow his footsteps, and lead such a great group of individuals, and hopefully make just a little impact that he made within this industry. So
well, that was amazing of you to say. Did you ever? I don't know how tall you are, but did you ever have to stand on like a couple of crates in order to be eye to eye with him, like I would have to?
I don't even know if a couple of crates would be.
So, how are you feeling today, the middle of May, 2023, about the state of business?
I can actually say business has been well. We're performing well, in not only in our hotels, but when you look across the landscape in the whole hotel industry, you're just seeing a resurgence of business travel. You're seeing group pick back up, and you're also seeing that leisure business still a little bit. It's kind of tailing off with people having to go back into the office, but we're still looking forward to it, and I think we're in great shape.
So people that don't know your company, Travis, why don't you say, somebody tell me how many hotels you have, what kind of hotels you have, and don't ever use leisure on the show again. Thank you.
Actually, you can, but everyone's required to take a shot when you do that, and we've had some very drunk viewers.
Hey, now we also have, though, our HR manager online, so we can't do that.
Hold on. I know how to. You're muted. You're muted, Deanne. We didn't hear you.
I was going to say we could take a sip of Red Bull, but that's probably all we should be taking.
My solution was a little bit, Deanne, my solution was a little bit more drastic. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Just tell the audience
more
about your company and what kind of hotels and what regions you're in.
Okay. So a little bit about our company. We first started off in 2014, at the end of 2014. We were owner managers, and we have 24 hotels as of today that we own, manage, and we also have a couple third parties. We are from Columbia, Maryland to Beaverton, Oregon to Gainesville, Florida, and the Gulf Coast area as well. Most of our hotels, major 3 brands, Hyatt, Marriott, and Hilton. Most of our hotels, we focus our main focus is we have extended stay, but we also have focus service, with Hyatt Place, Courtyard, and Hilton Garden Inn as well. So we have that mix of of the key core brands for each of the big 3. Our locations, very unique. We focus on college markets, medical districts, and in most cases, it's the secondary cities, and in some cases, third tier cities is where most of our hotels lay at.
And how did the 3rd-tier cities do following the pandemic? Did
Really good.
Did they go online quicker?
Yes, we actually bounced back quite a bit quicker. Again, as I stated, with our hotels being in the medical districts and the college areas, we saw an influx of business related to COVID. And so, that first couple weeks, about 8 weeks, we struggled just like everyone else did.
Yeah, of course.
However, we didn't lay anyone off. We kept everyone on property. We kept everyone working. So as we started coming back, we were prepared. And so once May started rolling around, we started hitting our stride very well. And, one of the things and it was Mark focused on, let's keep everybody working. Let's go into the communities, ask them if they need any assistance. Can we help them out? Not asking for business, but
right.
What can we do to be better human beings in our communities? And it paid dividends for us. And we bounced back. We started gaining traction in May. And then we actually had one hotel in one market that met its budgeted revenue, met its budgeted NOI for the year. Just because we was able to bounce back so quick. And I think Jennifer can probably add on a little bit more from a revenue standpoint and how we bounced back.
Yeah, it was, obviously a very tough year, but as Travis said, we were very fortunate. All revenue stayed on, sales stayed on, operations stayed on, and we had to think differently, right? And we really had to go after who wasn't our normal customer, but at that time, who was traveling. So our mix of business changed quite a bit, and we went after business in order to help pay bills. And as Travis said, the year, while down to the previous year, we had a successful year. We ran in the 60s as a company in 2020.
And you mean
and we
you mean
outperformed
occupancy
the competition.
when you say 60s, you mean occupancy?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And most hotels, P&L is basically built at a 58 to 62% occupancy. So if you're running 60, you're paying the bill.
Exactly.
Right. And as a matter of fact, that is, I guess that's done typically because that's been over the history of the hospitality business, like the average kind of occupancy over a number of years. So that's really interesting. I want to focus on now. I think that's all in the past right now, right? So I want to talk about where you are right now. Deanne, we'll bring you in just a second. Please keep sipping on that Red Bull. But Travis, how is business today? You had said some of it's kind of abated a little bit. That B word isn't there. Are you seeing corporate business coming back? But maybe you're completely insulated for some of these things because of that medical and university focus. What's your general state of feeling? Sorry to keep talking, not letting you answer.
Oh, no worries. No worries.
Yeah.
No, again, general state of business is, most of our hotels, we are pushing into mid 80% occupancy range. We're doing well. Again, the medical, the college markets are doing phenomenal. We do have a market or two that's still a little behind and bouncing back. But overall, we're in great shape and poised to have a magnificent summer. Our summer months are really looking great as we look forward. And I think as we look, go ahead.
Go ahead, Travis.
And I think once we get into the fall, that's when the business travel really picks up in the fall months. And so we're expecting a strong third and fourth quarter as well.
So do you think, and this could be maybe an answer for human resources, being a company that owns your hotels and being so kind of DNA is you have to keep these hotels running because you have to pay the mortgage, you have to pay the debt, you have to run these hotels like your life depends on it. Outside of a management company, not saying they don't care as much as people that own their hotels, but when you have a core group of hotels, 24 hotels that you have to live and die by, does that help you in retaining employees, in making sure you keep these employees because you know these are your hotels, and when the pandemic's over, you need to have these employees working in your hotel. And also, I would imagine that your people in your company, because you have 24 hotels and you're a mom and pop kind of business, that they've been with you for a long time. So they were willing to stay and willing to grind and willing to do the extra work. So Deanne, why don't you answer that question?
So I definitely think it impacts our ability to be able to provide that structure and stability for our associates. Every interview that we do with leaders, we're really driving home the pandemic is part of our DNA at this point, right? So what we did in those times really impacts what our new leaders coming in should be trying to do for our current staff, right? So explaining to them some of the measures we took, Mark, to Travis's point, was huge in making sure that we were giving the stability that our team needed during the pandemic. We supported benefit premiums for those first couple of months before we knew what was going on, which is unheard of. We didn't close any hotels down. We wanted to make sure that our team knew that we backed them and we were their ally. And, for those, to your point, tenured associates that we have we have a lot of really cool success stories where they've grown within the ranks in our hotels, some that started in laundry and then progressed to executive housekeeper in the pandemic. And since now we have, some in assistant general manager roles, GM roles, the success of the internal development that we've been able to really rely on has been huge. And I do attribute that to us owning our hotels and being able to manage them and make sure that, when we commit to that experience of being people serving people and the accountability of being respectful and creating a respectful workplace, we can back that. When Travis is showing up on property, he's saying the same thing. When Jennifer is showing up on property, she's saying the same thing. We all really thoroughly believe in being people serving people and making a difference. So I think our associates, they don't feel like a number. They feel like a part of our family because they are.
Yeah.
I wish Glenn made me feel that way.
I know I don't, but that's why I'm not an HR director, right? I'm the HR misdirector over here at No Vacancy. But Anthony, speaking about what's going on in hospitality, Dino has a question about how are you dealing with some of the labor issues a lot of owners are facing right now? But before any of you guys answer that, Dino, I know you got another question, but I'd also like to say the AHLA, the American Hotel and Lodging Association, just put out some news just before we went on air that American hotels support nearly 1 in 25 U.S. jobs. American hotels support 8.3 million American jobs, the equivalent of nearly 1 in 25 jobs, according to an economic analysis by Oxford Economics and the AHLA. That's huge news. Deanne, what do you think about that? And how are you focused on labor issues?
Well, I think that's a huge support. We're starting where our business was starting to bounce back after COVID from a business standpoint. We're starting to bounce back from a people standpoint as well. That's phenomenal news that those are statistics because they weren't playing in our favor, years ago when it felt like 3 million people were leaving our industry, right?
Right.
And there are true challenges. That's a reoccurring theme in conversation. How are you getting people to show up for interviews and what are you doing to retain your talent? So I think it's amazing that our industry is kind of blossoming back after having such a tough go. But I think, the perseverance of folks in the hospitality industry is amazing. They have been through the ringer. And we try to reward and make sure that we're providing that respectful space that they come to work and they feel included and they feel heard. They, need a special tool. They're able to escalate that and we get them what they need to be successful. So creating a space in hospitality that's great for all workers, no matter, the experience level that you have or the education level that you have, or maybe you're tired of your industry and you want to join something new and exciting, the hospitality industry definitely has that to offer. And we'd love to have folks join McNeill and get a taste of our culture, right? Because we try to make it a holistic approach.
Yeah. So Travis, how do you help shepherd that culture in order to keep people engaged and involved and want to work with you as opposed to others?
Well, I think it starts from myself at the top, and it goes all the way to the housekeeper that's cleaning rooms to the front desk associate. It's showing up on property. It's welcoming them. It's providing the tools, the necessary tools for them. It's providing vacation. We offer volunteer time off to all of our associates. We offer floating holidays for.
But when you mean volunteer time off, like, hey, I would like to go do this good thing. No problem. Go ahead. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. We offer our associates 16 hours a year of volunteer time off, and they can use it for anything within their community. And also we offer the 2 floating holidays, which not everyone fits into the standard holidays that are given in the industry. Right. So we've allowed these additional holidays for our associates to take time to take off for what matters for them. We've really started, I don't want to say thinking out of the box, because I think all of us have to think out of the box in the hotel industry. It changes every single day. But just even from a staffing standpoint, we look at, if an associate can only work 2 to 3 hours a day, we can accept that. Right. We can fit that into our schedule. The days of trying to find a front desk associate that can work 7 to 3 and 3 to 11 and 11 to 7, those are long gone. And so now it's, how do we work with people that, quite frankly, most people in the hotel industry and hospitality industry as a whole have more than one job and work at multiple places. So how can we work with their schedules to not only satisfy their needs, but also satisfy our needs as well?
But how has that been, working with people that I'm sure they've been in your company for many years and that come from maybe the generation that I come from, where it's, if I want your opinion, I'll give it to you. And how do you kind of split the difference? Because, Deanne, I would imagine, you're obviously not of my generation, but so you probably understand but the world before technology, right before technology and technology. So how do you get people that maybe not have the mindset? I'm a young thinker, so I don't need to kind of, you don't have to convince me. I know we have to change. But how do you convince the people maybe in your organization that are like, what do you mean, like 7 to 3, 3 to 11, overnight shift doesn't work anymore and you have to only work 3 hours? Like, have you had some challenges convincing people that this is the new, I hate to say it, but the new normal?
Yeah, I would say that we have had some resistance along the way. But we try to do things where we're getting buy-in from our field. So when we roll something out, if it's a new strategy, we have what's called a discovery team, and we send them our suggestion or change policy that we're considering and seek feedback so that we can kind of get ahead. We have a really nice, diverse group that we ask, and, coming from different generations and different types of business sets, so that they can share those potential challenges that they would see coming into those new changes that are coming. From a strategy of timing, we try to explain how, having that flexibility with scheduling really impacts the life of that associate, and driving that back to our purpose of being people serving people, and reminding them that, you don't know what their life commitments are, right? But if there's a way that they can fit into our puzzle, we'd love to have them join us. So, would you rather work the front desk shift, or would you rather be flexible to put 2 different people who have competing life priorities in that shift, right? And that's been very, very important in trying to establish flexibility within our leaders. And again, that message is driven from Travis. It's driven from our RDOs, Jennifer, our sales team. So we're all speaking the same language in that way.
Yeah, and those people don't want your job. When I was growing up in this business, everybody wanted their boss's job. Nowadays, people don't want your boss's job. They just want to make rent, and they just want to kind of do other things. And that's an interesting dynamic too, because how do you motivate people to the next level? How do you kind of groom that mid-level manager to want to be a general manager? I imagine those are some big challenges. Or even revenue management. I was talking to a young lady who works for a big finance company in the hospitality industry. Are you getting feedback on my mic or no?
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Okay. I don't know why.
I don't know either.
How about now? Is that better?
Yeah, for now.
Okay, I'll stop talking after this. And and I convinced her to go into revenue management. And because you like numbers, you like kind of analyzing things, go into revenue management. So Jennifer, how do you attract people into revenue management?
Great question. Right now, obviously, with the state of the job market in hospitality, it's hard to find talent. And with revenue management, it is such a discipline that you've got to bring on people that you can build up, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've got to have a bench strength that you can build from. So we've got a revenue analyst on our team that, right now the team can handle the 24 hotels we have, but as we build and grow, we want to have him grow along with it, right? So that we then can step in and say, okay, well, we've got a few hotels. We're going to give this to you, and we're going to all be there with you and guide you and mentor you so that you can build in the discipline. Because it's hard to bring someone from outside for revenue management when you haven't done it. So they've got to really be immersed in the industry. And our revenue analyst actually came from property as a director of sales. So he can relate to our hotel teams because he's been there, right? And so
also
now
probably has more of a fundamental understanding of how it all works.
Exactly, comes together, right?
Right.
And how it's all important and how his role plays into what our teams are doing on property. Absolutely.
So that's different than the technology companies that build our software. They have nobody that's ever worked in the hotel business, and they just build our software. And then they screw it all up and go, oh, you need to be able to split a folio? Oh, people room change? We didn't know that.
You should ask your customers.
Yeah,
exactly.
And that's a retention tactic as well, right? To find leaders that may have joined our industry to, fulfill a certain phase of life that they were in or season of life, right? Maybe in college and they had considered going into a different industry once they graduated college, but we kind of sucked them in, right?
Yeah, right.
And providing that pathing that potentially aligns with what their degree is in is also an opportunity for us. Jennifer's success story there is one that we try to share with candidates and internal associates that, let us know what your vision is so that we can help you set that horizon and get you there. Jennifer does a really nice job of inserting herself into conversations at property so she can understand, where do your goals lie and I can help you get there. And there's something to be said about that as a VP, having those one-on-one conversations for sure.
We talked about meeting people where they are. We talked about talking to people. We talked about the boss showing up. We talked about being kind to our people, to respecting them. Why is this revolutionary?
I don't know, because people are just people, right? I think that, there's always from an HR standpoint, there's, HR is on property, right? What's about to happen? And we try to get away from that, right? We are just people. We want to know, who you are and what are you passionate about and what do you do outside of work and how does that relate to your job? It goes about a lot back to, how do you volunteer your time? We want you to do that and represent McNeill Hotel Company when you do that so that you know that you're working and living at the same time and you're part of our family in that way.
I always try to explain to employees, I can get fired faster than anybody in the building because I'm the general manager. So I'm an employee just like everybody else. And if I don't do my job, I'm going to get fired. And I'll get fired quicker than everybody. So let's just all work together so I don't get fired.
When we try to proactively navigate those situations, right?
Yeah.
And not just being the hammer 100% of the time. We want to be able to kind of coach in the moment. Our workforce looks a lot different, to your point earlier, right? Of what is the difference, right? Our workforce is so different. It's very, very diverse with lots of different backgrounds coming in, and being flexible to kind of meet them where they're at, even from a coaching standpoint or a skills standpoint, is really important.
So Anthony, you was talking earlier, where do we attract the new talent? So last year we hired 2 new general managers that had never worked in the hotel industry before.
Awesome.
And then about 3 weeks ago, we had our annual leadership conference. 1 general manager won Hotel General Manager of the Year.
The one who never did this before.
No, one that never worked in the hotel industry, and the
Wow.
other general manager won Hotel of the Year.
Wow.
And it was really because they looked at it as this is how we run, this is how we operate, this is how we manage. They didn't have to look back and say, oh well, this is how we always done it. They didn't have those
what fields did they come from?
The restaurant industry is where they came from. And so for them coming out of the restaurant industry, let's just face it, the restaurant industry was hammered.
Right.
And so they look at it as oh my goodness, I only get to work 10 hours today, not 12.
But they're still okay with the 10-hour day, right?
Yeah.
Still okay with that. They recognize that balance has to be, their business balance is still a little skewed, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I asked that question, I knew you were going to say restaurant business, because that's not fair, because the restaurant business, like coming into the hotel business, and the hotel business is hard, just like a cakewalk.
I know, that's what they've said, and they love it. And what's great is bringing in people like that, from the restaurant industry. Again, the hotel industry is much different than the restaurant industry to a point,
right?
But that work ethic. They brought
and the personality type.
Exactly.
Probably right on point.
Because with just like a restaurant and a hotel, the product is one thing, but the service is what really keeps you coming back. And at a restaurant, it truly is about the service. And so those two general managers, they're doing great.
Are either of them at properties that happen to have any F&B?
Yes, both of them have F&B.
Have you found that to be an advantage in a?
Yes.
Let me put it this way, right? In an industry which goes, we don't need to make money on food and beverage.
So it's funny that you state that, because most of the focused service hotels, they're lucky to break even in F&B,
right?
And these two particular gentlemen, they're thriving at these hotels, and
that's awesome.
And the hotels are performing. The F&B areas are performing well ahead of where we thought they would be at this point in time. So,
and Glenn, let me correct you. It's not like we don't need it to make money. It's more like we have no idea how to make money.
Right. I mean, that's what I was getting at. So they're just like, we're just pretending it doesn't exist because we can't handle the truth on that.
Shut it down. That's what they did. They shut it down.
So, so just a little bit more about McNeill Hotel Company. So in 2022, we actually brought on a new strategic partner. We actually recapitalized 12 of our hotels. We made a decision that instead of owning 100% of 10 hotels, we'd rather own 10% of 100 hotels. Mm-hmm. And so we recapitalized 12 of our hotels back in summer of 2022. And right now we're looking to grow our portfolio on a more of a JV type partnership.
Right. I love that.
To where we can grow our footprint. And then also we're looking at some third-party management contracts. This is an area where we haven't really explored in the past. But as we're looking at these third-party management contracts, we're just not picking them up just to pick up the contract. Yeah. We're looking to create new partnerships and possibly some sliver equity as we progress.
And let me just share with everybody out there listening and or watching, that's becoming a more popular formula right now. Instead of just having a pure management thing, you get in with a little bit of equity. They call sliver equity or something more substantial. I was just at a location last week that another management company and a multifamily developer got together. This was that multifamily developer's first ever hotel experience. And they partnered up and they got themselves a really nice property and a terrific partnership. So Dino is asking Travis, what are some of the target markets then you're going to be focusing on this year and in coming years? Now that you mentioned that that's kind of what your goal is over here.
So I think we stick to our tried and true, which is the college markets, the medical areas, but we're also looking at where you have more leisure type of business, such as beaches. Looking more towards We have a couple of hotels near national parks. We're looking to expand that footprint as well.
Yeah, makes sense.
We're also looking to expand our footprint more in the experiential type of platforms as well.
Mm-hmm. Right. So in that spirit, Travis, is it getting more difficult in markets like medical and universities? Because before 10 years ago, I never heard of people specializing in that. Now it seems to be something I'm hearing regularly, right? So how has it changed for you and your strategy now that others have awoken to this gem?
That landscape is changing at a light speed right now. Everyone wants to be in those markets because they saw the resiliency during the pandemic.
Right.
And
imagine an extended stay hotel over there. Everyone's got to be going gagas over that, right?
Yes. As you just stated, extended stay outperformed everything during the pandemic, because it can go extended stay, it can go short term, where your select service is mostly short term. But again, those markets and what I would call the A sites, they are getting harder and harder to find. And we have a couple business partners that we're working with, and that's their primary driver as well. And it's getting tighter. It definitely is getting tighter. And we're seeing the cost of entry has really, it's increased exponentially.
Right. Yeah. Not a surprise. So, Jennifer, I got to ask you, let's bring you back into this conversation. When you're looking at revenue this particular year, I'm curious as to how you're seeing this summer and beyond. Last summer, I felt like everybody was like, forget about it. We're just going, we're going to spend. We're not worrying about how much it's going to be. We said at the end of last summer, Anthony and I really put our foot down. We're like, no, it's not going to continue. We think that people blew it, and now they're going to be a little bit more concerned. Plus, we're seeing some economic headwinds for certain people. Unfortunately, am I right, or are Anthony and I wrong in this issue? And you're going to keep pushing those rates as much as you can.
I think it's a little bit of both, right? It's dependent on the market and your location.
Right. Makes sense.
We've got a couple hotels in Florida, and I call it the Florida fatigue. It's honestly real, right? And so the pace is down at our beach hotels. We're not getting the rate that we commanded last year. I mean, just absolutely phenomenal rates, both in 21 and 22 at the beach hotels. So, that is softening. And I think those properties are getting back to pre-2019. The traveler just has so many more choices now, right?
Right.
The international borders are open. You got cruise markets back open, and now the big urban cities are opening. So that some of that demand is shifting. So yes, I still think the beach hotels will do well. Florida has a great reputation. We're not able to dictate the demand with the high rates like we did. But, the other hotels, group is strong. Group business is coming back, and leisure is coming, leisure still is a huge carrier, as Travis said. Experiences with sporting events and musical concerts. I mean, just huge for our industry and the business that it brings in. So I think from a summer perspective, it's going to be great. Some markets are going to be better than last year. Some markets not going to be better than last year. And it's a balance for us.
One of the big department store chains said that they're seeing people buy more essentials and less clothing. And that's kind of telling, because people are just really starting to pull back a little bit. And is travel an essential? Are people really looking at travel that we need to go on vacation? And I think that we've kind of bared that out in the last couple of years, that people are like, maybe they won't buy new clothes or new sneakers when they go on vacation, but they're going on vacation.
They want that experience. They want that, adventure, and particularly the younger, group that's coming, the millennials and they want those experiences. And in our industry, not only do we have to tap into those people to get them into our industry from a worker's perspective, we actually have to also find them to stay at our hotels, right?
Yep.
Because they like to do things differently. They're
You're noticing that demographic, there's a reduced night stay, because like my daughter's been on vacation, I think 7 times this year for 2 or 3 or 4 nights, but she's on vacation. I tell her, where are you going? She's going somewhere for 2 or 3 nights.
They're
It's
going,
about
yeah.
fitting
They're
it in
moving
where you
around
can
and they
fit
do
it
different
in.
things, right? So we've got to find in this industry, we've got to find a way to capture those guests, those potential guests and bring them into because it's all about the experience. They like their
Yep.
technology, they want to be
Mhm.
connected and it is something that all of the brands are struggling with to try to find out how to capture that group.
Yeah, Deanne,
Well,
you were saying?
I was just gonna say you got to fit it in where you can fit it in, especially
Right.
with, a lot of corporate America going to a hybrid strategy.
Mhm.
Having that technology is important because, they may go work 1 or 2 days and then head out to the beach for the weekend,
Yep.
right? And finding that way to fit it in is important because there's also a different work-life balance with that hybrid mentality as
Right.
well entering into the workforce.
It's a much better way to live overall, to be able to work and play and have that real life balance. And I think a lot of it has to go with the way our society has been developed in the post World War II era, where we separated work and life with and forcing us to get into cars, and that kind of ruined a lot of experiences for a lot of generations. Now I see the younger people going completely the opposite way and wanting to be sure that they have a well-balanced experience. And that's playing out in more trips, even though they're shorter. And this is a phenomenon we've been seeing for at least 10 or 15 years. Anthony, you wanted to throw something in there? You're on mute.
I'm just saying that, technology allowed us the opportunity to really kind of do what we're talking about. However, the pandemic gave us the authority, right? Because the pandemic got all those scary managers and said, why don't you sit over there? Okay, because these people aren't going to work for you. They have many, many options. And you're a scary manager. That's intimidating. So you don't work anymore. So this is a new philosophy. We're going to take the technology that you didn't really want us to use all these years, and we're going to work where we want, how we want, and we want a little bit more money, and you're going to say yes. And if you don't get with the program, we ain't going nowhere. You're going somewhere. And I really think that's happened. And I really think, as horrific as the pandemic has been for all of us, that's the one thing that came out of it, that it sat down those managers that didn't get with the program.
Agreed.
In my opinion.
Well, and Anthony, to chime in on what you said earlier, it used to be where people collected items that was their wealth. Let's collect this. Let's collect this. Now they're getting rid of cars. They're getting rid of their houses. Now they want to experience life. They want to, let's buy experience. Let's not buy, tangible items. And we're starting to see that more and more with our millennials, and even to a certain point, some of our boomers that we're seeing as well. They are ridding themselves of that shackle of a house, and they're going out and experience life.
That is absolutely correct. I think a lot of younger Americans are realizing that the idea of a home and a white picket or fence like that was just something that was made up and sold to us as that's the way it should be, as opposed to each of us wanting to live our own personalized adventure out there, as that we call life. So I love that people are finally getting on point with all of these things. And what we're talking about right now is the experience economy, and we've done a number of shows on this. And again, for folks that aren't aware, the experience economy really came to the fore after the Great Recession, 2009, 2010. People started going, we don't need the bling bling. We want to have the experiences. We'd rather do things. And I think that has wholesale affected a lot of millennials and all of Generation Z, and maybe some of us Gen Xers too. Travis, it's great to see you feel those baby boomers are coming around too, because they're retired. They're the last generation that's probably going to have any money, and they're out there in hotels spending it right now, right?
Yep.
Yes, they are spending it.
I had a friend from the Air Force just post this biggest, baddest ass RV you've ever seen in your life. It looks like a mansion on wheels. And I was in Vegas a couple weeks ago, and he goes, "Aunt, what are you doing?" I go, "I'm in Vegas speaking." And he goes, "I'm at the RV park." I go, "What the hell are you doing in the RV park?" He goes, "I have the biggest, baddest RV in the world, so I'm traveling around the country." He just retired. He did real well. And now he's just got this mansion on wheels, and he's just going from state to state.
Yeah. That
sounds
is
lovely.
It sure does. All right. So Dino, I'm going to just call him our new co-host today. He's curious, Travis, you're open to JD development in mixed-use projects. Maybe y'all could connect on LinkedIn or something. He's saying multiple projects out there right now with hotel, condo, and retail and urban core looking for sliver equity and management. But he's also asking, hey, what are y'all doing to create experiential packages at hotels? Any thoughts on all-inclusive and stuff? Jennifer, maybe you could address this idea?
You know, we are 24 hotels that are select service, right? And so there are opportunities, in my opinion, because the distribution shelf can get very cluttered, right? And you know, our guests are coming to an area
Yeah.
and then going out and doing other things. So due to our operational challenges at times, we don't want to deliver on a whole bunch of stuff, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
our focus is to be priced right at all time, you know, to find that right length of stay. So packages, I think in some markets it could make sense if you're, you know, in downtown Atlanta next to the aquarium. Yeah, you do a package and that can, you know, definitely sell some room nights. But overall, I don't think that that's I don't want to clutter up our
Right.
distribution
All right,
shelf.
what about just like come down to our bar and have a free cocktail with this coupon?
Oh, absolutely. I think a
Yeah.
lot of that's with the brand loyalty, right? You
Right,
know,
and then they'll
the 3
spend
big
more
brands
in
that
there.
we have, you know, we want them to engage with our food and beverage options that we
Yep.
have on property.
Excellent. Anthony?
Absolutely.
No, I just admire you for saying that, Jennifer, because so many times I've been in meetings and people start cluttering up stuff with packages and start cluttering up. And I was like, do you know what that's doing to our team? Do you
Yeah.
know the procedures and policies? We can't get a room cleaned and we can't get a key out because we have no employees. And you're asking them for an experience. If you're in the right market with the right employees, with the right product, the experience is outside the door.
Right.
Right. And the experience they want is when you come back, their room cleaned with a smile. And if they want a bottle of water, you have one. So I really, really applaud you for saying that because so many people almost get pressured by that question to say, well, yeah, we do this and we do that and we do this. And at the end of the day, you just said it right. We do what we do well. And, you know, and that's where
Right.
we're staying. We're staying
Anthony,
in our
tell me if you think I'm right or wrong about this particular issue. I think a lot
You're
of
wrong.
that has to
You're
do.
wrong. You're absolutely wrong.
Darn it. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that public relations companies are hired to help promote the property. And it's a very specific tool that they have that they feel will create high value and media placements, but none of them have hotel operations experience. So they don't realize that it takes any effort whatsoever because they're so focused on the headline and the ink in the publication rather than what it actually makes to have that happen.
Yeah,
How do you see that?
Not only yes, but you know, F yes. It's they're so focused. The best PR companies and the PR company that I use for my company and things I do. The reason they're the best is because the time you hire them, they've exhausted you to the point with homework, with questions, with how, where,
Right.
when. So the time they go out and they help you kind of do PR, you're exhausted and overwhelmed with homework because they really understand you. And they're not going to do something like I talk about in my book, where when I ran a bread company and the name of the company is Etche Panis, Behold the Bread. And the first thing the PR company said, well, we're going to have somebody outside the bread company, outside the retail stores, jungling bread. Well, the name of the company is Behold the Bread, and the bread to Dr. Santa, who owned the company, were sacred. And now the PR company is telling us we're going to juggle bread outside our retail stores. That's the moment that what you just said became true to me.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, you're a bunch of idiots because nobody asked any questions. And we gave you the information and you're juggling our bread. Like that was the moment I lost faith in PR companies.
Yeah, I think it's about, even though we might not have packages per se, right? It's
Yeah.
about our staff connecting the dots
Yep.
and being hospitable on property and giving those unique situations. Don't
Right.
tell me about a chain restaurant. Tell me about a really great hole in the wall that is local, right? Or
So
tell me,
right.
don't tell me about the tourist trap that I know about, but
Right.
tell me about this great, location down on the river that, no one knows about. So to me,
Whatever makes you feel like a local.
right, exactly. And that's I think that's what people are dying for. They want those experiences, not necessarily this package that, adds and adds all this extra stuff that then we tend to fail on property because we can't deliver on.
Yeah. Well,
And
But they do want a clean
Deanne?
experience.
Mhm.
Yes.
Well, that's important and reoccurring. The reoccurring same consistent approach from our team. They want that friendly person that's gonna, know that they came last summer and remember that it was their kid's birthday that week, right? And creating that experience at the property is important and
Like
valuable.
there's memories. Yeah.
Yep.
It's about making memories. Mhm.
And that's really, in my opinion, what it all comes down to. Everyone in the hospitality industry, for the most part, is so phenomenal at their jobs that the stay experience, in a lot of cases, particularly in focus service types of property, is pretty much standard. But it's the human beings that are there that makes all the difference. Those people, the ones that make the real human connections, are the ones that are going to help create that memory that people are going to say, oh, I'm going to come back to this hotel in 2 or 3 years, as opposed to having a perfectly good time and forget the hotel even existed. Anthony?
Glenn, I know we're wrapping soon, but you know that story when we were at the mansion up in the Catskills with the bartender that said, oh, you don't like gin? Why would you challenge me?
We are talking about the Chotwell Lodge. Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to give you, he goes, well, I don't like gin, anything but gin. And she said, oh, you're going to challenge me? I'm going to make you a gin drink. It was like the best drink you've ever had. I've told that story 10,000 times. I told it yesterday.
Yeah,
I told it 10,000 times
on this show, but it cuts to the heart.
Even on the show,
but it cuts to the heart of everything in hospitality. What the true meaning of hospitality is all about, and that's what I love. What you folks at McNeill are doing. Before we wrap up, let's do some final thoughts. We'll go with Deanne, Jennifer, and then wrap up with Mr. Travis over there. Deanne.
Well, I just think about Anthony's experience that he had with the gin drink, and I think about a story that Mark used to tell us all the time, and we have said reoccurring times and interviews and speaking spaces that, he tells a story about a young man that worked at one of our properties that was very upset about the cost of the sweet shop, and explained this man had been on travel. He was having a tough time, and he was just upset about the Coke. And why do we charge so much for the Coke, Mark? He said. And Mark said, well, he kind of flipped it on its head and said, well, so why didn't you share the Coke with him for the experience, right? And have the autonomy to make that decision that you can just give the Coke on the house in that particular case and have the autonomy to make that decision to create the experience. So I think, all in all, we have for many years now been trying to create that experience overall for our guests, but also for our associates. And it's been a pleasure to get to talk to you all today about that experience. But people don't forget those stories, Anthony, where they have those moments, and they will go miles out of their way to get to that experience for sure.
Yep, for sure. Jennifer.
Thanks for having us today. I'm truly blessed to be a part of a team, the McNeill Hotel Company.
Yeah.
We're just, we call ourselves a family. We welcome you to the family. And then we get, pretty gritty. It's all about the win and the success. And then we call ourselves McNeill Nation. And we've just been very grateful for our employees. We've been excited to see what's in front of us. We're in an environment that, it's very competitive, but we're also in an environment that is open to risk and change and ideas. And that's what our team members want to be a part of. And, it started with Philip and Mark, and now, Travis is continuing that journey for us. And we're truly blessed to be a part of this group.
And I love what you said. It's like we're family, we're the McNeill Nation, but we're gritty and we want to win. And
Yes.
No, but that is the other side that no one talks about. You can be nice, you can be respectful, and you can be friendly, but at the end of the day, if you're on the team, we're gonna be all those things, but we ain't coming in second.
Nope.
And that's always been my philosophy. It's like we'll all be on the team, but if you don't want to work like everybody else is working, again, with respect, but with the goal to let's be flexible, but we're not here to come in second.
Nope.
Behind the curtain of Jennifer's session at our recent conference, you should have seen the grit in her room working on the revenue challenge. I myself was learning things about revenue, and it was so cool to see it come to life in the competitiveness. So we're definitely a competitive group.
That's wonderful. Travis, sum it up in a nice, pretty bow for all of us.
I think to sum it up is just like Deanne and Jennifer said, we are, even though we're a smaller company, we are a mighty company.
Yep.
We have some of the
800 employees. That's not too small.
do what?
It's still
Yeah,
over
800
800 employees, not too small.
Yes, that is true. But we have some incredible people on our staff, at our hotel levels, at our corporate level, and we listen to anyone and everyone within our company to really understand what is the boots on the ground.
Yeah.
And the boots on the ground is what gives us that inspiration to keep going and to strive better and to be a better company and to be a better employer. I think we've all worked for employers where we're like, we're never doing that again. And that's kind of our philosophy is we just want to make sure that we're approachable.
Yep.
We are competitive. Competitive is, as Jennifer said, we're as competitive as anyone. But also at the same point in time, we're humble and being humble from where we came from and how we got to where we are today. And also being laser focused on where we need to get to tomorrow. And as we go and get there tomorrow, just be better stewards in this hospitality realm that we're in.
And it seems that your company really defines the why to your team, because a lot of companies don't define the why, and why do we have to do these standards? Why do we work so hard? Why are we gritty? Why do we want to win? Well, the reason we want to win is because if we don't win, then we can't have these great hotels with all these employees, and we can't give you the benefits and the salaries that are required. So, and a lot of companies sometimes are too ego invested. So, the word humble is a beautiful word.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. If you want to hang out backstage for a minute, we'll give you a real goodbye once we get off the air. Thank you so much, everybody. And thank you for all that are watching. Listen, if you're watching us, why not listen to us? And I mean, literally listen to us. You can do that on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, SoundCloud, wherever you get your shows, we are at. And if you happen to be listening to the lovely dulcet tones of our voices right now, why not watch us? Hey, we're not bad to look at. Well, maybe I am, but the others, they're gorgeous. LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, novacancynews.com. That's where we got all of our shows. Thanks so much. Oh, and don't forget, show up. Don't do it for me. Do it for yourself. Go to shop.anthonymelcury.com. That's shop.anthonymelcury.com and get an autographed book on your own. I got a book, but I got it the Amazon way, so mine's not autographed. So I'm gonna have to track this guy down.
You bought the book? You bought the book?
Of course, I bought the book. Didn't you see it? I was showing it to you the other day.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I thought maybe I gave it to you. You stole it or something.
Oh, there was no way you were giving me that book. I read the digital version prior to its release.
Right. You were one of the few people that actually got the manuscript.
But it's important to send good karma out into the universe and support our friends.
Yeah.
So make sure
my whole family was here for a birthday party the other day for somebody. And I left the books hidden because I knew people would ask for a book, and no one's getting a book unless they buy it.
Yeah. Otherwise, the reason being is I don't want to say, here's a book. Because if I give them a book and they put it on the shelf, I want you to read it. If you don't want to read it, don't read it. Yeah. Well, I'd want the sales. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here today. We'll see you next week. Tomorrow, Friday Night Out at 5 o'clock Eastern time. Maybe I'll do it from my backyard. I don't know. You're going to have to tune in to find out. But until then, you've got one life. So blaze on and
be kind to yourself.
See you later.